XRP holders, are you ready to have a pro-crypto, pro-XRP, more specifically as it relates to this video, chair of the SEC? Of course, I am referring to Brian Brooks, and we're going to break this video down into two parts. To start the video off, we're going to be talking about Brian Brooks and where he's previously mentioned XRP and what he's mentioned it in relation to. Then towards the latter half of the video, we're going to be talking about something we've been really zealous on saying for a long time now in regards to XRP, and that is that it's going to enable the US dollar globally. And when we initially came out and said that over a year ago now, we were greeted with a lot of kind of angst because the US dollar is kind of contrary perhaps to the cryptocurrency industry, or certainly what it spawned out of Bitcoin. Bitcoin was created as a kind of arbitrage to the fiat systems, an adversary to them. But we've come a long way since Satoshi's vision, and actually we think Bitcoin maxis are very blind in many regards. You know, they have lots of blind spots. Certainly it's, I think, ironic that all these maxis are sort of praising the institutional involvement and takeover that the cryptocurrency space is seeing. But we've always said XRP is essentially going to enable the dollar, whether that be through being the rails that it's ran upon, or whether that be through real USD, which was an announcement that came later on that fit perfectly with the puzzle that we've been trying to put together. And the interesting thing with Brian Brooks is he's mentioned XRP specifically being an enabler for the US dollar and global remittances. But in a congressional hearing that he did, he actually spoke about the use specifically of stablecoins in regards to defending the US dollar. And we know that him and another 5 potential candidates were put forward. This is from Fox Business just a couple of days ago. And you can see he is second from the right. You've got the likes of Daniel Gallagher, of course, Robinhood's chief legal officer, somebody we've spoken about previously, Mark, who of course has came out, even when Gensler was in charge, very much against him. Hester's Pierce, we all know. Brian Brooks is the guy that we're of course talking about here. We did a video earlier. He's on the HBAR Foundation Council. It really does wind me up. People don't think I can be a fan of two cryptocurrencies. I hold HBAR, XRP, XLM. I hold over 20-something cryptocurrencies. And if you want to unlock my portfolio, do consider becoming a patron. We've got a very happy group of individuals right now. If you're watching the cryptocurrency space pump and wonder why your portfolio isn't moving, you're not doing something right. And it's about time you start to look for perhaps some guidance on a non-advisory basis. Our Patreon is the perfect place. Try it out for a month. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But Brian Brooks is the one we want to focus on here because I think he's one of the most likely people to become the next chair of the SEC. And Trump's regime is going to be one that is going to be very crypto-friendly. We have an agency formed called Doge, for goodness sake, headed by Elon Musk. And ultimately, they're going to want a pro-crypto, familiar with crypto chair that I think Brian Brooks essentially is. And it's very interesting, some of the comments that he's made on XRP. Let's just play a couple of short clips of him actually mentioning XRP specifically. And then we're going to talk about this bigger ethos or this bigger theorion of XRP enabling the US dollar. And actually, as zealous for Bitcoin and crypto as Trump has been, he's a dollar man. And you can see that by him essentially saying things like, for anybody that doesn't use the US dollar, we're going to put 100% tariff on you. You know, he wants to propagate the US dollar. And the best way to do that, as Brian Brooks understands, is with stablecoins. What is the premier stablecoin going to be in the United States? It's going to be real USD because it's backed by a US company that Trump, of course, is trying to incentivize through rumors, perhaps, and there's nothing confirmed of this, that he's not going to make people pay capital gains on profits that have been made from US-based stablecoins, or US-based cryptos, I should say. Let's play a couple of really short clips of Brian Brooks actually talking about XRP.
The way to think about crypto is, okay, if you are going to buy XRP tokens, I'll just steal Brooks's story just for 1 second, you're probably doing it because you believe that in a world of mass migration, as we heard in the last panel, in a world of globalization, as we hear a lot, you probably think that one of the big frictions in the global economy is the need to engage in foreign exchange, that every time you send money from country A to country B, you have to pay a large tax to change dollars into euros into yen. But what if you could trade the same currency on both sides of the border, and it could just be XRP as the tracking stock for that transaction. That would be an amazing thing if you could cut all of that out of the system. So if you believe that, you'd buy XRP tokens. Each of these networks is being built for a different purpose, but the theory of each of them is that that underlying purpose would be better done on a decentralized network than it would be done by a bank. Okay, that's the theory. And if you believe that, you'd find the token that matches your investment thesis and buy that token.
Hard for us to say that can participate in our banking system. If I decide that XRP is a security, why won't we let it list on a US exchange? The problem is we treat crypto assets differently from all other assets. And the answer is just recognize them for what they are. These are assets that represent some underlying activity. It could be a network, it could be an application. They have a value that people are willing to buy and sell at. Let them in.
Let them in, indeed. I just wanted to play that because Brian has specifically spoken about XRP on a number of occasions. And I want to now dive, before we go into the greater theory of XRP being used to sort of further the dollar's role globally, with his take on cryptocurrencies and the word more broadly, and actually perhaps what they're trying to do, certainly as it relates to XRP specifically, not being a competitor of the dollar, but an enabler of it. And the need to enable the dollar has never been so needed, ever. What a time to be alive. What a time to be an XRP holder. Of course, we've done videos on price. We're talking more fundamentally here. We like to jump in and out. And a massive thank you, guys, for supporting this channel. We're very quickly becoming one of the biggest XRP content creators out there. Let's dive into this next clip that I have for you with Brian talking more broadly or generally about cryptocurrencies and where they fit in with the likes of the current fiat systems that we already have, or the way he sees that currently.
So the point that I always try and tell people is, the biggest issue that I always try and focus on is cryptocurrencies are really not about currency. And the biggest misunderstanding of this whole discussion is the belief that if crypto is not doing a great job of replacing the US dollar, then crypto is failing in its mission. And what I think we'll talk about a little bit today is the idea that most of crypto is about replacing the centralized banking system with networks that allow user control versus bank CEO control. The crypto assets that have prices are more like internet stocks. It's more like you bet on Google if you think there's going to be high internet traffic, and you short Google if you think people are going to go back to the post office, right? But it's not that Ethereum or Ripple or anything else is trying to replace the US dollar. It's trying to replace a system of transmitting value. And we'll talk a lot more about that. So for me, the prices are not that relevant any more than Google's volatility is. And in the early days of Google, that was super volatile.
See the puzzle, the pieces of it that we're trying to put together here. So we know he is somewhat a fan of XRP, or certainly has mentioned it on a number of occasions. We know that he's potentially going to be the new chair of the SEC. Probably arguably the most powerful man when it comes to this industry and the enabling of it. We know that he views these cryptocurrencies, rightfully so, which is where Bitcoin maxes go wrong, as more than just an alternative store of value, actually the enablers of value. And the dollar is a massive part. In fact, it's still the world reserve value system, albeit a crappy one. And what we're going to go on to now is his concerns in regards to the dollar and what he thinks can change that. And he potentially, whether he gets the SEC or not, it's likely he's going to find himself in that government in some way, shape or form, is going to be a pivotal person to essentially enact this. And the company that I think is best positioned to do this is Ripple with XRP. And what's the value of a company, a technology company, that keeps the US mighty? Well, what's the value of Google, Amazon, Apple, and the companies that already keep the US mighty? One reason the US is as mighty as it is not just due to its currency, which Ripple will directly enable for XRP, but also because of the technology that comes out of it. The ownership of the internet itself is centered in the United States, and we're seeing the furthering of this with Ripple. What an exciting time to be alive, truly. And we've been one of the few people to highlight, many people saying, okay, XRP will be the currency. No, XRP will be the rails, as it was designed to be back in 2012, that the currency is moved upon. And it will facilitate this internet of value. Let's listen to this clip of him talking in Congress.
Well, Mr. Lukemeyer, it's terrific to see you again. And I'd give you a couple of thoughts on that important question. One is, if we start with stable coins before we talk about other crypto assets, I've said for a long time that the secular reduction in dollar holdings as a percentage of global central bank holdings is alarming. And this has been going on for more than 10 years at this point. So dollars as a share of the European Central Bank, the Japanese Central Bank, et cetera, has shrunk from 80+% to more like 60+% in a short amount of time. What that tells me is that in the future, with the rise of China and other major economies, the US dollar can't take its primacy for granted, and we need to start thinking about competing on utility, on features, not just based on a post-World War II monetary system that we could take for granted for the last 2 generations. And that's one of the reasons that I've been such a supporter of internet-enabled dollars, which allow us to compete on features, not only on history. I think that's really critically important. The second thing I would tell you is, as we enter year 11 or 12 of a highly inflationary environment, after all, we've been printing enormous numbers of new dollars since the financial crisis, there will come a time, gradually then suddenly, when the attractiveness of the dollar relative to other currencies could change. One of the benefits of the crypto economy is that it creates some counter incentives on the part of the Fed to do that kind of policy, because people will flee to other kinds of assets. And that sort of market competition is something that I think will ultimately shore up our monetary policy and keep the dollar where it rightfully ought to be, which is as the dominant reserve currency it's been for all of our lives.
You get it. I don't think I need to say anything more. Just ask yourself, who's in that key position to enable all of this? And the regime that we're about to enter in January, the Trump regime, is going to be a very pro-crypto one. And they're going to be very pro the dollar, as Trump is himself, even though he's a fan of Bitcoin and alternative stores of value, and there's going to be an arms race in regards to that from country to country. The US dollar isn't going anywhere, and it needs to innovate. And Brian Brooks put it perfectly there. And I think Ripple is the company to do that, and XRP is the ledger to do that on. That's it from me, guys. I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you've enjoyed this content with a like and a comment. And on that note, I'm going to see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching. See you soon.